Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jacqueline Coley, and it is my honor to welcome all of you to the global press conference for MGM's Creed 3. I am welcomed here today by our actor, Tessa Thompson, actor, Mila Davis-Kent, director and actor, Michael B. Jordan, actor, Jonathan Majors, producer Ryan Coogler will be joining us shortly, actor, Selenis Leyva, screenwriter Keenan Coogler, screenwriter Zach Baylin, and actor Wood Harris. Everyone, welcome and congratulations on the film. Mr. Michael B. Jordan, sir, I would like to begin with you because we've already seen the initial reviews. We've already had the premiere in London. We have already had, people are already talking about it online. But for you, before all of this happened, there had to be a moment where producer, friend, Ryan Coogler turned to you and said, hey, do you want to direct this? And I just wanted to know after that, what were the conversations you had with him or any of the other great directors that you worked with that helped you sort of get ready for this moment?
To be clear, it was never a moment like that.
There wasn't?
No, there wasn't. But he definitely had a lot to do with it. I think he told me that I could direct. I think there was a moment where I was in awe of what he was doing. Seeing a black man my age, somebody I knew well, or getting to know at that time, command a set, on Fruitvale Station, and what was possible. I think for me, him telling me, like, Mike, you can do this too. It was kind of where that first kind of seed got planted in my head of like, okay, maybe I could direct one day. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know what movie it was going to, I was going to step behind the camera on. But as, we did Creed and, we did Creed 2 came along and Steven, jumped into, the director's chair and had that experience. And as we kind of grew, the third one just seemed like it was the perfect time for me to step behind the camera and from, internally with myself, Erwin Winkler being, another one as well, a manager, and, just talk to some people that I really respect the opinion. And Ryan definitely was one of them. It was like, all right, cool, this is like the perfect opportunity to step behind the camera. And I think preparing to shoot this movie, Ryan had a lot of thoughts. He was a great sounding board for me. So was Jon Favreau and Bradley Cooper and Denzel Washington. Those are some people that I tapped into to kind of get their opinions and thoughts. And the man himself.
Yeah, the man himself, Ryan producer Ryan Coogler.
Yes, sir. And yeah, just, people that I really wanted to talk to actor directors, knowing that was going to be a big, challenge for me to, being behind the camera and in front of the camera simultaneously. So those people have had, success at doing it. Sometimes their first project being that as well. So that really helped inform me on what to expect, even though there was nothing that anybody could really tell me to prepare me for what the journey was going to be like. It was one of those things you got to live it and get through it. And the hardest thing I've had to do so far, but at the same time, I felt the most alive doing it. So it was rewarding.
Well, so what I'm hearing is we're going to see this again, another directed by Michael B. Jordan. This is already like tapped that sort of bug, as it were.
I think so. I think so. I can say that, yeah, for sure.
I like that. That's a good bug to tap. Again, everybody's already talking about it. Also, if you're going to do this type of thing, it's almost like going into a battle. Of course, you would want to have one of, somebody that you've been to battle in before alongside. And obviously, I think in our interview recently, Tessa mentioned you guys were not kids, but you were kids when you first started this, and you've moved further. I would just ask you, Tessa, you're in the unique position where you've now been directed by each of these different directors with Bianca. But with this one, what do you think about the colors that you guys brought to her in this chapter? Is a different look from her where she is in her career, their relationship? What would you say, Michael's direction? How did you guys approach it differently than even what you did with Steven or Ryan?
Thank you for that. I think something I've always really enjoyed about making these films, and that began with Ryan and our work together, is I feel like I've always been invited to really be a co-author and to be so a part of the collaborative process of building Bianca together with them, and so it feels like I've gotten to continue to do that. I think the interesting thing over making these films over the course of, I've been saying 8 years, and then you told me the other day it's 9, Mike, right?
Saying, yeah,
it's crazy.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that I have finding so fascinating is the ways in which our growth, our personal growth as people, gets to be communicated inside of the characters in a way, and that is a very unique thing. I mean, we're separate in a way, but I think some of the things that our characters are contending with, and some of the things that Mike and I are contending with personally, we get to explore in the context of these films. And I think that's something that is really a gift. I think you're always hoping to get to make films and to be working on something that is also tasking you to ask questions of yourself. And I think in terms of some of the things that we're unpacking in this, which has to do with like, what does it look like to have successful partnership inside of your dreams? That's definitely a question we ask ourselves. The two of us, we get to ask inside of the context of making these films, like what does your personhood look like when it's not entirely tethered to what you do in the world or what you make or your success? What is success? Like those really central human questions that I think we're in a point in our lives where we're really asking, we get to also put inside of this script. Or what does it look like to unpack masculinity? What does friendship look like? What does Black brotherhood look like? Inside of spaces that typically are competitive. I think all of those themes are really things that we get to tease out in developing these films, and I feel very lucky to get to work on something where there's an opportunity to do that.
And we're really lucky we get to watch it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, just listening to you talk about just the idea of being able to have a relationship on screen in chapters like that, it's just really blessed. And like, again, with Black characters, we don't really get that very often. So it's amazing. As awesome as they are in their love affair, here comes Dime and Dame, just wreaking havoc both in all, it's like we're over here in Love Jones and here you come just like as a sledgehammer to that happiness. But what a beautiful way to go, Mr. Jonathan Majors. I do have to ask you though, because I know this was a collaboration again, I think for everyone involved, but I know that when you came into this, it was a conversation with you, his name changed, so much of the character changed. What was one of the things that was very central to the character though that you wanted to make sure stayed in all of these different iterations as you guys shaped it? What was a part of that initial part of the script that you really sort of found him in, that you wanted to make sure as y'all shaped it stayed there?
Wicked. Yeah, I think the most ancient quality that was put in by the homies was this aspiration for freedom. And not just physical freedom, but mental freedom. And that's what that never changed. That never shifted. That was the thing that I went, okay, that makes sense to me. They baked it in. Mike saw it. We went after it, It's something it's the most universal quality in the piece. Second to that is brotherhood, I think. And that brotherhood, becomes paramount because that's connected between our hero and me. So those two elements. And the changing of the name is all about implication. The idea that, for those of you who don't know, what was Brandon, let's ask the homie, what was Brandon's last name at first?
We gave him like a generic one.
Generic name.
Yeah. So his name was Brandon, and then Mike came and said, well, Dame, okay, Dame, all right, let's roll, Damian. And then whatever that generic last name was, it was up in the air to be changed potentially. And I said, well, how about Anderson? And Anderson is my maternal last name. It's my mother's last name. And that had to do with implication. I can't tell you, one of the highlights of the experience was when Mike said yes to that. And then when I walked in, the day of fighting, and yeah, we've done all our prep, and but still, I'm in a Rocky movie, I'm in a Creed movie, I'm about to fight Michael B. Jordan. It's on, you know what I mean? You're a little nervous. There's a little something going on, but you look out there and you see, Adonis, and you see Anderson, And that type of implication, that type of like, oh, we're here now. This is me. This is us. You know, that was a huge gift from my director, and just kept the process more emboldened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's again. Those little touches really just make the film that more richer when you watch just how much you destroy him throughout it. We do have an audience here today, and so I want to turn it to all of you if you have any questions. It does. It makes it just much better. Yes, we're good. There's a microphone though, so we're just gonna wait 1 second for the microphone to get to her in this front row. Yes, thank you. Go ahead and say your name, outlet. Thank you.
Hi, Nikki Fowler, Glitter Magazine. My question's for Tessa. Loved your portrayal in this film. How did you balance the strength and the delicateness of your character?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. I actually was really interested in this time around getting to see a softening from her. I think something that's always been interesting, and I remember Ryan and I would have conversations on the first one, was like chipping away at this exterior that was outwardly very, very tough and guarded in a way. And I think over the course of the films we've seen that soften. I think motherhood is something that has softened her tremendously. But I felt very grateful because there was an idea that I had to Mike, of him saying to Bianca, that your emotions, for example, come so easy to you, and this idea of her actually being like, no, it's actually challenging. This is challenging for me. It's not easy for me. And I think so often there is this idea, particularly of Black womanhood, that has to do with strength, that we are the pillars of our community, that we are the backbones of our family, that we lift our men up. And that's beautiful. And that is very often true. And also it is not hard-earned, and it's not easy. And I really wanted her to have the opportunity to say that. And I felt very grateful that Mike felt open to it. And, I was like, can I try this? And that it gets to exist in the film, because for me, I feel like that is, it feels like an honest portrayal of her that she gets to also unravel some.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great question. I'm going to go right here. Yes. Yes. There's a microphone right behind you.
Hello, everybody. My question is for Michael Jordan. Visually, great job, by the way. I'm still floored by the visuals, especially the visuals of the movie. The shot of the movie is when before Dame's fight, you just talked to him. You're on the left side, outside of his locker room. He's on the right side, and the lighting, the framing, the colors.
Okay, we got to get to a question, sweetie. I appreciate it.
Keep going.
I mean, I know he's like, I'm not that I don't want you to get a big head. I do, but we also have a time thing here. I'll come talk to him afterwards.
I like that scene too, man. Yeah, I want to hear more.
Sorry. How can you tell us a little bit how important it was to be able to bring all these visuals to the story and create your own kind of flavor with the visuals in the movie?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, man. Appreciate that. It was I think something the first time, directing, or, you're in your head thinking about, all right, what's your style going to be? You overthink yourself, going into it, trying to create your own visual language. And, say I'm following Ryan and Steven. Oh, man, I got to do this, I got to do that. I think there's a little bit of that you spin in your head a little bit. And I think something that you start to realize is that it's just showing up and being honest every day, and then slowly your style will start to shape itself. I can't even tell you what it is right now, but what the movie's done and finished with, I think that is a representation of just my truth. Things that compiles of things that I watch, things that I like to look at, things that moves me in an emotional way, in a visual way, and I start to put it together. With Kramer Martinthau, my DP, who it's our third film that we've worked together. We have a shorthand. He understands the vision, what I'm trying to accomplish, and then me taking swings. There's some scenes and shots in the movie that I've dreamt about. Literally, I've dreamt about. I've imagined, daydreamed in my head, and when you see it on screen, I'm like, oh man, that's the type of gratification that you get out of that is it's crazy. So, I mean, to just, I guess, simply answer the question, you know, I just think it's a reflection of things that I think moves me and I think tells the truth, you know, and it's what's necessary and needed for the moment. And that was one of those moments.
Can I just ask this as a follow-up, because I've watched a lot of your interviews. If you did a director's commentary on just anime influences, could you do the entire movie?
About 70% of it.
70% of it. As I literally am not even that big of an anime head, and I was like, Crunchyroll needs to pay for director commentary track at some point.
Even not intentionally, like this, I could find the correlation between the two for sure.
The story, bro.
Yeah, it's amazing. The visuals are amazing, though. I would say in the best way possible, just the way you would say the same thing watching a Tarantino movie and Kung Fu elements. It's really, yeah, it's visually. Right here, and then we're going to go to our virtual questions. Yes, right here.
Hello, congratulations on the film. First of all, thank you for putting a Mexican-American finally in a boxing movie. There's so many greats that we've never seen. And secondly, this film is so tight as far as visually, there's no downtime. I actually forgot to go to the bathroom because I had to go, but I didn't have time. I was waiting for downtime, but this movie's just really, really tight. How did you guys work to get it just so, I mean, it just flows, and like I said, there's no downtime. So to kind of just relax, it's just like go, go, go.
Is this for Michael?
Michael and Ryan, how'd you work with the editors?
Yeah.
I'm still learning how to answer these questions. I think, you know, you write one movie, you shoot one movie, and you edit one movie, you know? I think the movie starts to tell you what it needs, and that's something I've learned, you know, on this process. You know, there's scenes that are on the edit room floor that I mean, had to be ripped from my fingers. But at the end of the day, does, you know, when you're worried about runtime and, you know, pace, and you know, you're listening to, you know, test screenings and, you know, cars and how people feel about certain things that are, you know, it starts to take a life of its own, and you have to give it what it needs in order to be the best version of it. So I think, you know, and then, you know, sometimes I hit Ryan in the middle of the night. Hey, man, you know, what about this? I mean, are you sure? Do I not need it? Do I not need it? Okay, you sure? You sure? Okay, you know, and getting that reassurance to somebody who's been through that process before. You know, writing his baby, you know, making his baby, and then having to, you know, kill his darlings in certain areas is not an easy thing. So like getting that emotional support was extremely helpful. And getting a closer, unbiased eye, you know what I'm saying? That's not too close to it, you know, was extremely helpful. And then, yeah, you know, the visuals are just, it's just a reflection of things that I love and I like to see. And I was curious that if other people might be able, if they saw them, would they feel the same way? And hearing you guys' response and reaction is validating that.
I'm just so grateful you didn't go to the bathroom during any of our emotional scenes.
Thank you. Appreciate
I'm impressed.
that. Thank you.
No. Ryan, real quick before I go to these virtual, is there anything you wanted to add to that? There's been a lot of talk about towards the stuff that you did before you came in. Is there anything you wanted to add as far as like what conversations you guys had during the post-production process?
Not particularly. I mean, it was just great to to watch Mike work, and it's super rewarding to be to support filmmakers. You know, it gives you a different type of creative fulfillment. You know, and I love it. So I was always happy to get the text messages or to come by, and we had a great editorial team. Performances were great, script was great. You know, I was just really, it was very satisfying experience to be involved and to help him realize his vision.
Love that. We're going to go to the virtual questions here, and we're going to start with you, Mila, from Sean at Nerdtropolis. You threw some great punches in the movie and showed impressive boxing skills. Were you exposed to boxing before joining the film? And like your character, do you have any interest in the sport?
Okay, well, no. Prior to the film, I didn't have any experience with boxing, and I wasn't really interested in it, to be honest. But Anne the Mitt Queen taught me a lot of technique. So my character, when I got the role, I realized that being a boxer was part of that character. And so that made me more interested in it because she was interested in being a boxer because her dad was. So after I started doing it, I realized, you know, boxing is a lot of fun. I don't think I'm gonna try to be a boxer in real life because I'm kind of scared of being hit, to be honest. But when I was doing it, I had a lot of fun, and I thought it was a great experience.
I'm digging that.
and she was such a fast learner. You know, I think from watching and paying attention to the McQueen and, you know, and following instructions to a T, she picked it up extremely fast, and she's a natural at it. So, you know, a lot of those, you know, her technique and things like that was cultivated in a very short amount of time, but she's fearless, and there was nothing that seemed too big for her to accomplish. So she's really, really good.
This one's going to be for Wood Sir. Kevin from Parle magazine. Duke seems to know exactly how this story is going to play out before it does. Again, we should have listened to Duke. This is true. Why do you think he doesn't see a chance for redemption? Yeah, why did Duke know everything? Why didn't he see the redemption for Dame?
It's the gray hairs, you know. Wisdom. Just being close with a person and having a perception on the person, I believe, that would give you some insight on the future of what you believe may happen, and then when that happens, you get to be like, I told you so, or not. Yeah. But yeah.
Experience. No, that's true. And also in the previous Rocky films, like Duke, he was the same way. He always knew. That's true. Selenis, this is from Ava Coleman from Texas Metro News. Your character, Laura Chavez, is a boss. Facts. And how her character resembles how you take charge in your own life. Does her character resemble how you take charge in your own life? Sorry, I'm going blind.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I'm a mama. I'm a mama bear, and I protect the people I love, and when there's conviction, when there's, you know, passion, you go for it. And that's what I loved about this character. She was written so well, and thank you guys. And, you know, and the director here let me just kind of just do my thing. And I love that. I love that this movie, although when people think about a boxing film, they automatically think male, you know, and the power of the man. But here is like the power of the women also exists in this film, from Mila's character to Tess to Laura. So I love that. I love that it's well-rounded and powerful black and brown people doing their thing.
Also, he's scared of you. Like, legitimately, when things go wrong with Felix, he is not scared about what Felix is going to do. He's scared about what you're going to do.
Facts, big facts.
I love the scene when he gets, you know, there's a moment, and I turned to him and I was like, I'm gonna eat you alive, you know. And I did see a little bit of fear in Michael's face.
a lot of fear.
Ryan, I wanted to take it really quickly here. Lupe from Ha Cinema Movie. You and Michael have worked with each other for now over a decade. What do you like most about working with each other? Wow.
That's a good question. Like most. I think like, oh, go ahead, bro. I thought it was your mic coming up. I seen the hand.
He thought he was going to save you from this.
I thought he was going to get me off the hook, yeah.
Like, you go first.
That was a quick pass, Ryan. You passed the ball real fast, Jack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, I usually get this question, so I'm like, I want to see how somebody else.
Yeah, no, I think it changes. You know, like over 10 years, relationships change, people change. You know, and what was best about working with him when we first started has shifted now. I mean, now it's the fact that that I know him, you know, really, really well. So I think that adds it's an added color that comes with that. So when you know somebody, and you see them do something new and excel at it, it gives you a different type of joy. Like when I first met him, I knew he could act. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like, oh man, Mike did a great job acting. Like it's not a surprise, you know. But now and seeing him, oh, can he do a sports film? You know, can he do an action movie? You know what I mean? Can he direct? You know, like in seeing the growth and the shifts and seeing him knock it out of the park in each thing, not without struggles. You know what I'm saying? Not without going to the mat and having to get back up. It's a really it's a really, really, like, I keep using this word, but it's like satisfying, it's rewarding, you know, it's affirming. You know, you meet actors like felt this way about Tessa, felt this way about Jonathan, and they talk about authorship, but I meet him and I say, I think this person's a director. You know what I'm saying? Like they're acting now, but I can see a world where, you know, it's directed by Tessa Thompson, directed by Jonathan Majors. You know what I'm saying? And me, as a filmmaker, I get excited about these movies because I want to watch them. You know what I'm saying? Like and so like to see this happen and it be affirmed, that suspicion I had about this creative, you know, 10 years later, it's like, oh yeah, he had it in him. Man, it's fantastic, and to be a part of it, man, forget about it. You know.
That's maybe you need to be a talent scout like everywhere now. Like seriously. Like,
I mean, that's a little bit of being a director. You gotta be a little bit of a scout. You know what I mean? Like, but
pretty good track record. Like, legit. Zach and Keenan, this one's for you. I don't have a person that this is from, but I want to make sure that I ask you guys what. I wish I could tell you. What was the inspiration for this story, and how did you tackle this chapter of Adonis' story? Zach, I'll start with you.
Inspiration. I mean, it was a very collaborative script writing process, and I think the inspiration came from a lot of places. You know, it came from talking to Michael about what the next chapter of Adonis' life that he wanted to explore, and Bianca, and it came from from talking to Ryan about what was happening in all of our lives that we thought we could get out and really put into this movie. And then, Keenan and I had this pretty amazing collaboration where we got to really just talk about, what we thought was possible in a movie like this, and how we could make it personal for everyone involved. And I think that getting to work, there are not that many like franchises or films of this caliber where you get to work with these kind of actors and actually like make a movie that's about something. And that, for me, that was the most exciting part, was that like, oh yes, like all the exciting elements of the boxing and the inspirational story was going to be there, but also like these characters are so deep and dynamic, and we really got to explore a lot of things that was like, it's pretty rare in a movie of this scale, I think.
I want to tweak yours. That's why I wanted Zach to go first, because you saw Ryan go through the first Creed. You probably were maybe texting him a day when he was writing it, before it was even going to be a reality, before they'd even pitched it. How did it feel to then sort of transfer that? Because you were probably one of the first people that knew that he was writing a Creed script before, and now you're writing the third installment of it.
I used to make fun of him because I thought he was making the whole thing up. Because we shared a room at the time at my parents' house, and sorry, buddy. We shared a room at my parents' house, and he was working on the script literally from the idea in his head, and he would talk about it, and then he would go out and have these telephone conversations with Sylvester Stallone, and he would talk on the phone, and he would go down the street, and you would just see him pacing up and down the street talking, and I thought he was making the entire thing up, because no fucking way, excuse my language, but no way would a Stallone even answer that phone call, right? And then I worked on the movie. So if you watch Creed 1, I'm literally underneath the ring in pretty much all the shots. So Ryan had to set up a little village that would be underneath the ring so that we wouldn't have to sprint off camera every take. And that was me. I was underneath there watching these guys create this character. But the funnest part, honestly, has been watching the character of Adonis change hands. But the entire time he is... everybody who sort of had, and to Jonathan's point, implicated themselves in this character, they're growing up with him in real time. And it's really interesting because I've been working with these two for, over 10 years now, and we've all sort of grown up with this character. So the scenes get super emotional because everybody's implicated in them. When Adonis is struggling, it's hard not to imagine where that came from, and I really love that this character has always been equal parts Mike and Ryan. And Mike's been a big brother to me from day one, but to now sort of be tethered by this actual character that people respond to just makes it that much more fun to write the character. And I'm a genre guy, so I came in first day trying to pull Mike's references out of him. I know he likes anime, but I know he's not gonna always lead with that in these big scary rooms. I was the one that was like, no, tell them it was from episode this of this, and we liked it, and we want to put this in the movie, and we believed in it. And
This is some real nerdy stuff.
I'm
Y'all
not
didn't
getting
know
off the
it.
Zoom until they know what episode of Dragon Ball Z we're doing. Am I wrong? I'm telling
Honestly, this is so affirming because I was watching and thinking that. So thank you very much for affirming.
I said if the nuts are gonna run the nut house, we're gonna do it our way.
Very affirming. Thank you.
Sorry for cursing. I'm getting excited about this stuff.
It's your show. You wrote it. We're going to go back to the virtual question. This is too much fun. I'm doing a bad job. I'm sorry. Tessa, this one's for you. Throughout the trilogy, Bianca plays a huge part of Adonis' successful career with her nonstop support, push, and love. How important is it to continue the showcase that having the right partner can help you achieve your goals, no matter how impossible they may seem? Wow, that's a lot, but that is a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think the truth is those partnerships can come in any form. With Adonis and Bianca, it happens to come in the form of romantic love. They're co-parents, but that's not for everybody. Not everybody has that. Not everybody wants that. I think the thing that I love about these films so much, and particularly in the first one, you really get to see Rocky and Adonis and Bianca make a little chosen family, and that is the reality for a lot of folks. And so I think what I love about these films is they're about relationships, the relationship between mentor and mentee, the relationship between father and son, whether chosen or blood, the relationship between parents, the relationship between, folks that have history that can stand to learn from each other and unpack their trauma. So I love that I get to exist in this with Mike, and that we get to push each other and love each other in the context of these films and individually as friends. But I think it's really about whoever your partner is, whoever is in the ring, the proverbial ring with you, and that can take on so many forms. And sometimes it's just you in the ring alone, and that's okay too. Like sometimes it's gonna be that. And that's what I love about these films.
Love that.
Man, that's so good. And then there's a shot in the movie where it's just them in the ring alone. Wow, that's amazing parallels. Thank you very much.
Keenan wrote that for me.
I mean, seriously. Christopher Gallarado from Hollywood Handle has for Jonathan, as Dame Anderson and you inject a lot of physical and emotional energy into making your character unique to Creed's family history as well as the overall story. Were there any aspirations or inspirations you had for the character once you were solidified for the film? So I guess, did you have anybody that you were pulling from to shape the character?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about them?
Yeah, in a nutshell, first and foremost, I was my stepfather. That idea of freedom that I spoke about earlier. My stepdad was locked up 15 years before he got with my mom and then raised me up. The ankle monitor situation, the PO, there's a box at the house. Like, I was the kid that was like trying to make sure Dad got home on time, before the parole officer got to the crib, and I watched it. I watched that happen. My stepdad also, Joe, I'm gonna say his name. He tried out for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm from Dallas. It made it to almost made it to the Cowboys. He was in the second round, right? I watched that aspiration. I watched that hustle. I watched that dream that he had. There's a big part about that big hard shell, with that young boy in it that had the aspirations to be more, to be free. So that's a big part of it. Probably 50. But not a big part, just half. And then we had the brother, Ryan's best friend, D-Lo, who was essentially my just touchstone. He actually had experienced very much the life that Dame had experienced. I got pictures of D-Lo standing, and how he stood. There's a certain decorum to the lifestyle that D-Lo just still had, walked with it, talked with it. And I could check in with him at the time of the day, and every time we saw each other, it we was talking that shit. You know, it was like, yeah, I was like, boom, we was in. And then Paramount, I think, as far as inspiration, yeah, I watched all the Rocky films, did all that, but it was very clear to me that the only thing that was really important was who Adonis was in this third installment, and how to antagonize this character, how to help this character continue his hero's journey. And so I studied Adonis, and I studied Mike, and I saw everything I saw his values, and us being brothers, you know, being close friends, how our values had to be similar, and how we went after it had to be different. And so that is a lot of the film is all relational for Dame. Dame lives and dies on his relationship with Adonis Creed. Everything else is set decoration. You know, it's all about him. And so that was the most fertile, I think, inspiration, and that I met every day. You know, that I got to meet every day. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just say that Jonathan, when I was on set, watching him in particular, there were moments where you want to hate him, and as Lauda, I had to go there, but me, the actress, was like, wow. I wanted to hug him. I did. There was heartbreaking moments where I would just look at him and I was like, I just want to hug him. So kudos to the person that could be that powerful and that menacing, but at the same time break your heart. I needed to say that.
No, it's very true.
Yeah, I want to give you props while I can too, brother. Like, I'm gonna tell a quick story just to show how much fun I had doing this with you, bro. But it was a tense morning, and he came up to me after, I think it was like a lunch break or something. I was like, "How you feeling in there, man? How you know, trying to keep the spirits up?" I was like, "You feel like you got the green light in there?" He looked me dead in my eyes and said, "I'm running lights."
Yeah, that sounds right.
And I walked away and I said, "He got it from here."
I mean, if that is not the most Dame sentence out there, though, that is in the character, man. Facts. Okay, last question for you, Michael, sir. Lena Licaro from the LA Weekly asked, this is a true LA story. What is the significance of Los Angeles as a backdrop for the film in terms of how growing up in the city has shaped Adonis and Dame as people, but also in terms of where they end up, where they live, where they train, and ultimately where they fight the fight of their lives?
Okay, there's a lot in that. I think first and foremost, from a franchise perspective, you know, you've seen Adonis start in L.A. and then end up in Philly, you know, in search of this, you know, of this teacher, of this mentor, you know, that's going to help him achieve the things that he needs to achieve in Rocky and Philadelphia. And, you know, having the second film be mostly in Philly, you know, and then, you know, a little bit in Los Angeles, and then we end up in Russia. We never really had a chance to really establish Adonis's home. You know, what's his home base, what really shaped him. And since we were kind of treating this like an origin story, you know, and a sequel and a trilogy all kind of in one, we thought it was like important to make LA a character, you know, a homecoming of sorts. And then you break it down further of like, okay, cool, you know, what childhood trauma did they share? You know, who was his first protector? You know, who was his first, you know, product? We're products of our environments. So we leaned into the reality of those environments, you know. Be from Crenshaw, you know, Adonis, you know, kind of Baldwin Hills-ish, you know, Beverly Bel Air-ish, you know, and that type of area that you know, that where black families lived and thrived, you know, that had money. Where would Apollo Creed be at, you know? And we talked through those things. And then we started thinking about, you know, just, you know, what iconic environments do we want to put these two guys in when in the form of montages, or, you know, when driving down the street, what familiar places that aren't oversaturated when you think of LA and Hollywood. Sometimes those could be a little bit cheesy when it comes to films, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going down the Hollywood Walk of Fame and this and that, and you know, and certain areas that are very familiar to LA, but what hasn't been photographed before? What parts of LA that you don't really see on film and television? So that was a challenge to kind of find those places. And ultimately, we ended up at one of the more iconic places, the Hollywood sign. So yeah, so
Just about to say.
there's certain things you can't get away from, you know. And I think it served as a, you know, as a final kind of nail, you know what I'm saying, that I felt that Adonis needed, that I think the audience needed to see and feel. Like, this is, you know, Hollywood was his first like nickname that they gave him when he went to Philly, was Hollywood, you know. So it felt very poetic to kind of come back around in that type of way. So. And then, you know, new developments that came up in Los Angeles, 6th Street Bridge, you know, is a new place that we wanted to, you know, that was started to become very, very popular, and with people running their car, drag racing down there, you know, and walking the bridge, and it's very visual, and we want to kind of just take new places. So that's just, you know, visually we want to just take them to different spots.
I will say the film, even though it went to familiar places, it still did even the Hollywood sign differently, like showing it from the back, just like the film. Even though it's a Rocky movie, there's familiar beats, there's something new in every installment. So I want to thank you all for being the parts that made this installment so incredible. I want to thank you all for watching, and remind everyone that Creed 3 is in theaters. 3, 2, 2, 3. Like, y'all got me like programmed on that. Thank y'all very much. 2, 3, 2, 3, right? Did I say it?